Technically, I'm talking about and referring to university because that is relevant to my life right now, but a lot of these tips can be applied to anything, and it can be like middle school or high school. It doesn't have to be near the beginning of the year for these things to be applicable, but it can help if you're new and a little bit afraid. Hello, my name is Emma and I have anxiety disorders and obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, and I make videos about those on my channel. This video is going to be about kind of like if you're just starting university or like going into a new school, like junior high school or high school. Today was my second day of orientation and I have collected some tips, surprisingly, in those few days that I feel like are relevant. Perhaps I'll go into more depth in the future, but I wanted to give you something to start off on if you're also just starting out. I want to kind of give a little bit of a life update as well as some channel updates, but if you're not really interested in that and you're like new or something, feel free to skip to the time that I hopefully remember to put in the description below. I'll start with my channel though. I'm switching my upload date from Fridays, where it's currently at, to Sundays because I feel like that works better with my university schedule. Since I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, I kind of would rather like film a video maybe Thursday night, edit over the weekend, and then upload on Sunday so I have more time to do that. I thought it would be a good idea to sign up for new student orientation, especially since I'm anxious and I like to be prepared and know what's going on. I feel like, honestly, like I didn't really need to because I was kind of a lot more prepared than I thought I was, and like a lot of the tips were pretty general. But I am glad I went because I don't know how I would be otherwise. Maybe I'd be more anxious if I'm just jumping right into it. For some reason, I wasn't really anxious, which is weird, like really weird. Like it's super new, everything's changing, you'd think I'd be anxious. And I was like at a few different points, I'd feel like my anxiety rising again and it would get to me. But really quickly, it just kind of faded and I'm like, okay, like I'm not complaining. I just want to say that like I really appreciate that my university actually spent the time to talk about like how school is important and like you need to work harder than in high school, but they also put like a lot of emphasis on taking care of yourself and like self-care and like stress management, and gave a whole bunch of awesome resources, really emphasized asking for help if you need it. And I'm just excited because my school is like all about passion and like really caring about the community, and I'm just really glad I went with my intuition and went with the school because like as soon as I was there I'm like, yes, this is it, I made the right choice, thank God. And also, I managed to make a friend on the first day, somehow. I don't know, that kind of stuff never happens to me, I'm never that lucky. It takes me like years to develop friendships. I've split this video into 3 kind of main different categories. Overall comfort for, you know, more generally anxious people, or even just like more anxiety reduction kind of ideas. Then making friends or social anxiety help. And just a kind of general more tips. Beginning with overall comfort, you have less anxiety when you're prepared. It could be planning ahead, as in getting all the supplies you need, like textbooks, making sure you're signed up for all your classes properly. To mention school supplies, you can't know everything, but having a decent foundation for you to work off of can often relieve some stress instead of just being completely clueless and totally afraid. So gathering info, whether it's from pamphlets or websites of universities, and some high schools, I guess, actually have a pretty good bunch of information on there. If there's still time, it's great to figure things out earlier rather than later. This is actually a great general tip because then it like you have less stress later on since you don't leave time for the stress to build up. If your school offers an orientation, I would highly recommend it, especially if you really have like no idea what's happening and like you have no idea how to survive university. Maybe you slacked off a little in high school or whatever school was before the one you're going into. It's just a really great way to prepare since it's like structured and organized, especially school-specific tips are really great. Another way to prepare is to just like explore the school or like the campus, like what's around there, figure out maybe how to get to your classes or what buildings you need to go to. You should always have a printout or at least access like on your phone or have a picture or something of maps and class schedule. I find it helps to get familiar with the spaces. I'm being driven to school for this week, but I'm planning to take my bus route or like kind of a trial run on the weekend to see if I can figure out how to get there because I'm not too familiar with like transit and like how that all works and like where the stops are. So if I can figure out how to get there, then I'll be a lot less stressed in the time because I won't be afraid of being late or anything. This is kind of more general, but if you know any friends that are going to the university or school or whatever, it might be a good idea to like message them or meet up with them beforehand and just kind of talk about it, like vent out your stress, or kind of have like a buddy. It's like a good idea to have somebody you know, so that way you don't feel like you're doing everything alone, or you can depend on each other. It's always helpful. Expect to be anxious, but you can also get excited. New things, change, the unknown, those are all really great triggers for anxiety. But if you expect anxiety, it can't surprise you too much, and then you know how to deal with it if it comes up. I know it can be hard to focus on anything but anxiety, especially in the moment, but it really helps if you can allow yourself to get excited or feel something other than anxiety. You have so much opportunity in front of you, and there's so many fun things you can do. You can join clubs or volunteer, and maybe it doesn't sound that fun to you, but like life is made up of experiences, not just schoolwork, which was also something my university like really emphasized, which I think is fantastic because it really, really is important to shape you and develop you as a person, and which is why it's important, as I'll mention in a minute, but to have an open mind and embrace new experiences and challenges that are to come. I know it's super hard for us anxious people, but it can be really, really helpful, no kidding, to ask for help. If you're lost, you can ask someone, hey, like, do you know where this class is? Or mental help, like maybe see a counselor, or take advantage of some of the support services. Free help is never something to turn down. My last tip for overall comfort is sometimes when you have anxiety, it kind of like clouds your mind, and no matter what, you can't seem to think rationally. So I think it's a good idea to always have like a few anxiety reducing methods under your belt. In grade 8, I typed up this Word document of anxiety method lists that I could just like print out and bring with me to school, but it's like there's like 15 of them, and you really don't need like 15, but just having a few methods that you've like practiced and you know how to use so you can attack your anxiety in the midst of it when you need to is important. I'll probably also link my list below, like the more detailed one, because I think it's actually pretty helpful. Like a few I would think of personally, like on the spot, would be like deep breathing. You can do that anywhere. 5 senses, like grounding yourself, thinking realistically, kind of taking yourself like out of the moment for a minute and being like, okay, like this isn't really that serious, even though my anxiety makes me feel like it is, like it's okay. And you can even literally like write yourself a note and carry it around with you. You have to be at school for a lot of your life, so it's really important that you do your best to stick through it. Friends, making friends, dealing with social anxiety and talking to people, communication in general. I really do want to make a separate video specifically for making friends. I thought it was an important addition like in my university beginning survival guide, or whatever I'm gonna call this video. I'm sure I've said it before, but it's super important that you realize that everyone has something to offer or give, or like everyone is different, so there's always something that you can get out of them. Like there's such a variety of connections you can make with people. They don't have to become your lifelong best friends. It's always good to just have people around to lean on, especially in your classes. It's important that you try to open your mind to the new things that are to come. That includes people. Also just open your mind to the idea of making friends and commit to that. I'm sure you know by now how important they are and how much better off you are with them than without them. Isolation brings on like depression and just like, it's not a healthy way to live. For me, one of the reasons I'm actually surprisingly like doing okay with this university thing so far, I mean, I really, really wanted to. But if you tell yourself and follow through with the idea that you're really going to try, just make it like a prominent idea in your mind. It doesn't have to be making friends either, just talking more, putting yourself out there more. Make it important to you in some way. Make it matter more than your anxiety. It's a lot easier when you're comfortable with yourself, so you don't have as many doubts. I had this idea before school started that I'm like, I need to get into this confidence boot camp. Confidence comes through doing things and having those experiences. and it's built through trying things even when you're scared. It's like through courage. It helps to be positive about yourself, self-love, self-care, all that's super important and can definitely help you get going. So confidence will come as you do more. So you might be asking, but Emma, how am I supposed to talk to people if I'm so anxious? Like, what do I say? I can never think of anything because my mind just goes blank. And I'd say, I feel you, man. I super relate to that. I'm praying for you. I think the best way to start a conversation is to figure out what the common ground is so you have something to expand on. I say a lot that I am great at talking about anything, but not anything interesting. It doesn't matter. It's just like to fill the space to get to know people a little bit. Always like ask questions, especially if you're first meeting someone, because like you don't know anything about them and the whole point is to know more about them and for them to know more about you. Also important that you equally share. A lot of people say ask more questions and focus more on them, but it's actually really important that you share as well, otherwise the conversation doesn't really go anywhere. Talking about the environment, I'll just give you a really quick like rundown. If you're just both starting university, you can be like, oh, what program are you in? What are you majoring in? Why did you decide to go into that? Why did you decide to come to the school? Do you know anybody here? And you can continue to ask questions as you find a topic. Super common ground is nerves. Everyone is nervous. It's new for them too. So you can talk about that, express your feelings, whatever. You don't have to be so afraid when you know you're not alone. Icebreakers are a thing that a lot of teachers decide is a good idea for classes at the very beginning. Sometimes you get a topic or sometimes you're just asked to like stand up and introduce yourself. I've learned to actually really love icebreakers because they get you to talk about, you get to share yourself a little bit before anyone can judge you, first of all, and also just get to know other people. Like, it's forced socialization, and I personally need and love that. A lot of, like what I said, situation-wise, you can talk about maybe your past related to, like, why you decided to come to the school. A lot of the times it has to do with hobbies, or your personality, something that's a big part of your life, or who you are. So it's kind of like a job interview. Talk yourself up a little. If you don't go first, you can kind of see what other people are saying and get, like, an idea. First impressions are good and can be useful, but they're not everything, so try not to judge people as you don't want them to judge you too much either. There are so many people in the world, in the school, in your class even, that they're great opportunities for friendships. If something doesn't quite work out how you want it, or you're not really feeling connected, just gives you a lot of opportunities, like a lot of do-overs. There's still so much more time to make friends and talk to people. Like, wherever you go in your life, there's always going to be people around, so you can talk to them. I wanted to add people on social media. You can even ask them how the day was after you're, like, done talking to them. Sometimes it's not as easy as just saying, hey, doesn't feel that easy anyway, but, like, it's really good. I actually have a friend, like not just someone I know, but like a friend. If you see someone who's alone or like a little more distant from the crowd, usually those people are kind of similar to you. So that's kind of what I did. I just was trying to find someone to talk to before I got seated, and then, you know, I wouldn't find them again. Probably. But it's good to talk to them. What am I saying? So I just kind of inserted myself like into the crowd where there was like a space. I want to say this also, since everybody is new or it's a new time, people want to talk to you. On to the general help. Economic concerns can be an issue, especially if you're going into post-secondary, because obviously that's expensive. Tuition is expensive, textbooks are expensive, everything's expensive. There are ways you can make it more bearable on yourself, like scholarships, bursaries, awards. I talked about them in a few of my Instagram posts, which I will link below because I think they are helpful. But it's a good idea to think about and address any money concerns, even if it's not really a concern yet, because it could become a concern, and once it does, it's a good idea if you're prepared to deal with it so it doesn't like take over your whole life. As I briefly mentioned, there is, especially with universities, so many student benefits. There are so many opportunities to benefit your physical and mental and like economic whatever help. People are there to help you. Teachers are there to help you. Like, it's literally their job, so if you're afraid to ask for help, like, don't be, because that's what they're there for. A tip I got today actually was to identify what causes your stress, so like any sort of triggers and also symptoms when you're first becoming stressed or like anxious or whatever. You can figure out how to deal with it early on so then it doesn't like get worse and continue to affect your health, obviously. Failure, as was also mentioned today, failure is kind of inevitable. Mistakes will be made, definitely. You can't be perfect. Believe me, I've tried. Having OCPD, perfectionism is a problem and you can't be perfect. So settling also for like skills, like learning how to do things and becoming more resilient. Like after you get through the roadblocks, there are always things that can be done. Like no matter where you're at, there's always something you can do to help yourself, or always resources available. It's never like a total dead end. There's always some way that you can get to your destination or reach your goals. It just might not be ideal, and the earlier on you attack the problem, the better chance you have of getting where you want with less effort. I went to a student panel today for my second day of orientation, and basically it was like more experienced students almost graduating or graduated. One of them said something about like, it's gonna be hard whether you decide to live like without getting a university degree and just like, you know, go straight into work, or if you choose to get a university degree. Like there will be challenges along the way no matter what, so you have to choose your hard. Like it's going to be hard either way, so you have to choose what is worth fighting for. And I just think that's like super inspirational because I never really thought about that, but it can also build resilience. I'm not going to talk too much about like academic help, study help, whatever. Thinking I'm gonna make a video on that at some point, but I will link the Instagram posts for like scholarships, and I think I might have talked a bit about studying. Oh wait, maybe not. I do have my video on high school help, tips and tricks, what I've learned since, you know, obviously I've graduated high school. You can comment and let me know if you would be interested in another like video specifically for academics and like studying. It's pretty much the end of my video. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.